Hello, everyone. I'm Daryn Carp, host of the ID podcast, Betrayal with Daryn Carp. We've got something so exciting for you today. I'm here to bring you the latest installment of IDCONversations, where we dig into some of the most disturbing and fascinating true crime stories. Today, I am here in person in Los Angeles with the infamous conman at the center of Discovery Plus's latest gripping true crime series, King of the Con, Barry Minkow. At just 16, Barry started a carpet cleaning company called Z-Best, which rocketed him into the limelight and set him up to be one of the youngest self-made entrepreneurs in the nation. But not all was as it seemed, of course. Right after Barry took Z-Best public on the New York Stock Exchange, he found himself in hot water when it was all revealed to be the front for a massive, massive Ponzi scheme with ties to the mob. Let's take a closer look. This is King of the Con.
This whiz wonder kid, the media ate it up.
18 years old and a millionaire.
Youngest guy in history to take a company public before I was legally allowed to drink. Don't be impressed, I was a crook.
Whole lives were destroyed.
He can't help himself. He just can't.
Been on Oprah twice, been 60 Minutes twice.
He was blackmailing companies.
That's a long story there, we'll get to that.
He's a con man. He always will be.
King of the Con, exclusively on Discovery Plus.
If you haven't had a chance to watch all of the episodes of King of the Con, and I highly recommend that you do, they are available to stream right now on Discovery Plus. I gotta let's start kind of from the very beginning. What was your inspiration for starting Z-Best? Why carpet cleaning? Talk me through that a little bit.
So mom was a telephone solicitor for a carpet cleaning company. She wanted me to have a summer job. I worked as a telephone solicitor when I was like 13, 14, 15 years old. Then I started cleaning carpets with the guys, weekends, after school, summers. So I kind of learned the industry from the bottom up. Most guys worked at Bach Boys, at a Ralph's or a Vaughn's. I was a carpet cleaner or a telemarketer for a carpet cleaning company. So mom's presence kind of got me in the door, and then from there, I took it from there.
You kind of, though, were attracted to the business aspect of it, kind of the longevity of that business. Am I right? Or is it the fast cash that was coming from, like, you clean something, you get cash for it?
Well, no, you know, stepping back just a little, my parents struggled financially at that time. So I'm 16 years old, it's 1982. Dad was in the commercial real estate world, 1980, 81 interest rates are what, 20%, 18%? So he was struggling. So we had our lights turned off, we had our power turned off, we had to go to our friends and spend the night to shower to go to school the next day. And my dad and mom were fantastic people, love them both, no excuses for my criminal behavior from them, great upbringing. But I swore that I was never gonna have financial difficulties like that. And to earn a membership to a gym, I cleaned the showers for a guy who owned the gym, Valley Gym and Health Club in Reseda, cleaned the showers on weekends. He gave me a membership, and I met a guy there who was a loan shark, kind of had some small ties to organized crime. And one day I'm cleaning the carpets in his house, and he says, "Hey, how much would the equipment cost?" I said, "About $1,000. He goes, "If I gave you $1,600, could you start your own business?" Now I'm 16 years old, 11th grade at high school. I'm thinking nobody else done this. I won't be poor. I've never seen 11 $100 bills before. So I borrowed the money, $200 a week, interest only. Z-Best was birthed. I had already known the business. Remember, I started when I was 13, marketing and then cleaning, so I was ready.
I mean, I have to ask, though, I don't run a business, but $200 interest a week is a pretty high fee.
Yeah, it was, you know, just details. Yeah, that was a problem. So, and quickly.
And not a red flag.
No, listen, somebody believing in me at 16 years old and wanting to give me $1,600, never seen that much money in my life, and it was my ticket out. So I thought. So best of intentions, you're correct, doomed to fail from day one. Doomed to fail from day one with that kind of overhead. But don't bother me with the facts, I'm full steam ahead. It's kind of ready, fire, aim kind of thing.
Well, how? I mean, I gotta say, like, as an outsider, a carpet cleaning business seems wholesome. It seems like, you know, it's like having like a lawn mowing business to me. It seems like you do the thing, you get paid for it. Where did it, and granted you had the $200 a week interest that was probably on your head the entire time, but where did it really go wrong? I mean, where did you say, I gotta create fake accounts, I gotta pretend that these jobs are happening? Right. What was that turn?
So the turn is, and I think the docuseries covers it, was when I couldn't meet payroll. So first I find out that in California, you have to be 18 years old to sign on a legal binding contract. I was 16, I would open a checking account, they'd find out I was 18, and then they'd shut it down weeks later. So I had a local liquor store that I had grown up going to my whole life, my sister and I, and he had a check cashing division. He says, you know what, bring your Z-Best checks to me, I'll turn them into money orders, and you can pay your bills and your employees, and you're good. He was a great guy. One day I'm short for payroll. I have checks, but I don't have enough to cover payroll. The next day was a Thursday evening. So he would always trust me. He'd give me the money order machine, and in 1982, the money order machine's a handle, and you put it in, not like automated like today. And I took one from the bottom, made it for $300, looked both ways, and that was the end of my life right there. Once I did that, crossed that line to meet payroll, everything was on the table. Next came grandma's jewelry, stole that to meet payroll. Next came check kiting, credit card fraud, insurance fraud.
Did you ever ask yourself, and this might be, I will agree, this might be a naive question, and I'm sure you've probably asked yourself this, but did you ever think to yourself, like, what if you just didn't meet payroll? I mean, what if that was just because the business wasn't going? I mean,
that's a great, Daryn, that's a great question, because at any time I could have said, let me try this again in 5 years. I didn't cut it.
Right.
It may take me a month, 2 months, 3 months to go out and clean carpets to make this payroll up, and I'm going to pay you guys, but I don't have what it takes.
Or businesses fail, or they're not the time.
I was too young. I refused. It was this, every time a challenge came up, I wanted to overcome the challenge and get past it any way I could. And if that meant check kiting, credit card fraud, insurance fraud, it didn't matter. I was going to make it all okay. I could grow the company legitimately. Remember, Z-Best really did do carpet, furniture, and drapery cleaning at one time out of 23 locations in 3 states, and that part of the company was legitimate. The lie was me claiming to raise money from investors. I made the story up that we were performing water and fire restoration jobs on buildings to the tune of millions of dollars with the high gross insurance frauds, insurance claims. So my point is that the definition of fraud is the skin of the truth, right? So skin of the truth, real carpet, furniture, and drapery cleaning, stuffed with a lie. Restoration business didn't exist. 86% of our revenue didn't exist while I was on Wall Street. However, to deceive the auditors, deceive the broker dealers and Wall Street investment bankers, we focused most of the due diligence they did on that part of the business that could withstand it, the carpet, furniture, and drapery cleaning company. So you could call in 3 states, I want Z-Best to come out and clean my carpet. They'd be there the next day or the same day. Oh, okay, they're real. So this skin of the truth stuffed with a lie is the very definition of fraud, and it was, much to my shame, how I perpetrated the Z-Best fraud. And we got elaborate. I mean, one of the investment bankers says, we want to see a job, and they cover it in the docuseries, and we rented a building in Sacramento and said it was under renovation. We just said restoration improvements. That's all the renovation is, and put our Z-Best signs over and paid the guard to recognize us, and the auditors came through, didn't say a word, out they went, and they believed it.
Well, I kind of want to touch on that, because one of the things I think King of the Con actually covers very well is sort of this nature-nurture argument. You were born sort of this guy who wanted to be the center of attention, so whatever you kind of went into was going to probably be that. But then at the same time, I also think you were maybe encouraged to, want to pay that person back. But when we're talking about the insurance deal, right, you said in the documentary that essentially you said that you had a 16-story building. You couldn't find any 16-story buildings. You found an 18-story building, and you were just kind of hoping that no one was going to check. No one was going to peel the decal of Z-Best off of something that clearly wasn't there. You being, or having a history of being a good con man, I think is not only that you're good in business, you're a good talker, and you know people. You can't manipulate someone unless you know who they are. Why do you think people do not check people's work? Why is it so easy to get away with it?
I think in the Z-Best case, I think that's an excellent question, and context is everything. You can't cherry pick facts to make somebody look bad. The auditors and lawyers and investment bankers at that time, I'm on Oprah. I'm in every newspaper article.
Right, you look legit.
Right. So you don't walk in, when I tell people to analyze an investment opportunity, don't rely on your buddy who referred it to you getting paid every month. That's not due diligence. You got to put your guard up. As a perpetrator of fraud, I want to get you from going from a position of readiness to total, you don't see it coming. And you do that, the media was a great way back then to get them on your side, do positive stories. So they're going into that building not expecting a fraud, they're expecting to see what they saw. So in defense of them, it happened in a context of very positive, press. I'm the wonder boy of Wall Street. Everybody's kid should be like, I remember in prison, my mom told me I should be like you. I should kill you right now. And one of my friends came up to me and said, my mom saw Oprah and wanted me to be just like you. And I'm like, well, you ended up being just like me.
You're like, for better or for worse.
Yeah. So the point is that these things happen in a context. They don't happen in a vacuum. So in defense of the lawyers and auditors and investment bankers, they were going into it with no reason not to believe. And I think that's the advantage that we who perpetrate fraud are looking for, is that you have your guard down, that you don't have your due diligence guard up, and you're not suspicious. And part of that was much to my shame, the way we portrayed the media to portray us. We had the media portray us. So
I gotta ask though, because for me, I'm thinking about all the nerves and anxiety I would feel trying to pull this off. If one person asked me one question, hey, why is this an 18-story building? That would make me go...
Well, let's take that. Hold on. We said it was 16 stories, right? And
right.
It was 18?
Right.
Well, whenever you have 18, you at least have 16. I mean, we would have got around it. I mean, you know what I mean?
But to me, I'm like, if they asked me
16
one
of the 18
follow-up,
stories.
you're like, oh, that's the basement. Yeah, you could pull something off.
I would have just said,
no.
hey, no, I'm just telling you, well, whenever you have 18 stories, there are 16 and only 16 were damaged. I'm just saying, it's in defense of that, and I'm not trying to, say that your point isn't absolutely correct.
Just the nerve.
Absolutely. And when you have two mafia families involved and a lot on the line, you'll be very, listen, I was voluntarily a part of that life. Nobody forced me, so don't feel sorry for me.
Right.
But there was a lot of pressure. And I just felt like I needed to complete the public offering so the stock would go up, so the million shares that the organized crime team had that were free trading that nobody knew about, they could sell at a profit. So in addition to me paying off the Ponzi scheme that was a cure, get $20 million from a public offering, pay off the Ponzi scheme, go legit. Then it became, well, that wasn't enough money, so my stock becomes free trading. In 2 years, I'll sell 1 million shares, it's 18 a share, I'll get 18 million, I'll pay everybody back and go legit. Always a cure, always a cure.
Always about tomorrow, never about today. It's always about tomorrow. Let's talk about your first prison sentence, because that I feel is like really a turning point for you.
Yeah.
You just got sentenced to prison for the first time. How old are you?
21, I was in jail by the time I was 21. January of '88, I'm in prison, I'm 21 years old.
21 years old, prison for the first time, you get caught. You clearly know why you got caught. I mean, I don't think it came as a surprise. What's going through your head now?
So there's only one thing, survive. So here's the problem. When I went to prison, 60 Minutes came out, first time, I was on twice, first time it came out, and basically everybody just said Barry did it. It came back to me that organized crime that I was involved in was concerned that I was going to cut a deal with the government and tell on them for a lesser sentence. So my safety was in danger. They put me in the hole in Terminal Island, which is 24-hour a day, single man, or there was 2-man cells. And that's when I met Michael Francis, and he and I became dear friends, and I fired my one lawyer, hired Tony Brooklier, whose dad was a mobster, and David Kenner to represent me. David got Snoop acquitted, death row records. He's in the docuseries. Yeah. And I said, Michael, please, they're going to kill me, and I'm not going to cooperate. I'm going to trial. That's why I hired Brooklier and Kenner to send that message to the mob who was concerned. There were 2 different factions that were concerned out of New York. And Michael saved my life. He in January of '88, he was in the shoe in Terminal Island. That's when I first met him. And he sent out the word that I know Barry's lawyers, he's going to trial. So I went to trial for 4.5 months. Nobody went to jail, no mobster ever went to jail. I got 25-year sentence under the old guidelines.
Right.
And so I was paroled. My judge actually wrote a letter to get me out after a third. But if Michael wasn't there at that time, it would have been very tenuous, because you said what was most on your mind. What was most on my mind is not dying. Here I am in maximum security, and word came back to me that the mob is like thinking you're a snitch and you're going to tell, and everybody in prison at that level wants to make points with the mob by doing something to somebody who would be detrimental to them. So that all got squashed, went to trial, No mobster ever went to jail for anything related to Z-Best ever.
But it's part of you as a young man in your 20s in prison saying, okay, this is my clean slate. I'm going to get out.
Oh yeah, that came when I got sentenced and the trial was over.
This was your clean slate.
That was when those thoughts came in my mind. When I went to FCI Inglewood, which is a medium security prison at the time, 1989 in Inglewood, Colorado. It's a medium, so I had too many security points because my sentence was too long to be in a camp or a low, so they put me right below max as medium, and that's where I was in Inglewood. And that was where I was able to do exactly what you said. Let's change my life. Let's, make best of my time. Went to school, got a bachelor's degree. Yeah.
And
back then they had Pell Grants and all that kind of stuff for inmates. So it was actually rehabilitative. The BOP, Bureau of Prisons in 89, 90, 91, 92, very rehabilitative.
Right, so you use prison as sort of disadvantage to you.
Correct.
You're thinking this is how you're going to change your life. While you're in prison, you start studying to become a pastor.
Yes.
You grew up Jewish.
Yes.
Okay, so a little bit of a different path-ish. Why pastorship? How did you get caught in that?
It was, somebody came up to me and said, Barry, I want to tell you something. And it was a Christian, it was a friend of the family, it's a lady. Her name was Dottie. She said, I want to tell you something. I'm on my way to prison. She says, did you know that good people don't go to heaven, forgiven people go to heaven, and everybody lives forever somewhere? And I said, good people don't go to heaven. I said, I'm not good. And she goes, I know, and nobody is. And she said, that's the Christian faith. It doesn't teach that good people go. It teaches forgiven people go. Are you in need of forgiveness? I said, yes. And that's what got me, that's changed me right there. It's like, the Jewish mitzvahs, and it's good people go. Even Islam, they'll tell you, I studied it in graduate school, good people go. Even reincarnation, good people go. Christianity was the only worldview that says good people don't go to heaven, forgiven people go to heaven. And I was so beaten down, guilt-ridden, media out in front of my parents' house, my house, because of the Z-Best was like the O.J. Simpson of '88 in L.A. Horrible. Every newspaper, I was this failure at 21. And that message, good people don't go to heaven, forgiven people go to heaven because everybody lives forever somewhere, that resonated. And I only say that because you asked, Daryn. So that was what won me over. That was it.
Well, because I'm thinking, to some extent, part of that, you being so latched on to the forgiven part, to me also kind of, we're going to get into like the peanut behind this all. It does kind of make me seem like you want the easy way out. You want to go someplace, you want to be forgiven. This is kind of something that you do.
Okay, yeah, and the beautiful thing about the Christian worldview is you can get forgiven, but you're still going to do your time.
Yeah, you're still going to suffer through it.
Hold on, I still got 25.
Yeah.
And there was no slap on the wrist. So I did more time than at that time. Michael Melkin, Leona Helmsley, Ivan Boesky combined didn't do the time I did, and we were all criminals at the same time. So nobody who says, Barry ruined it, whatever Barry did, that's why he got 25 years.
Right.
So no slap on the wrist. The financial crisis of 2008, not a lot of people who got hammered the way I did. I'm guilty. Criminal justice system worked both times in my case. But whoever has anything to say, what they cannot say is he got away with it or he got off easy.
That's true.
And so that's all I'm saying. Even though I took that message, I wanted to be forgiven, I still had to pay a heavy, heavy price for what I did.
Well, let's talk about how you kind of rehabilitated your life. And I want to use rehabilitated in air quotes a little bit, and I'm sure you know why, because this is not your only stint with prison. You do go back. But why did you choose...
You can't just give away the ending.
They're going to see it. They know.
They know.
You go back. You go back. You're serving twice. All right? He's the king of the con. You're not king of the con by just serving 7.5 years in your 20s. You've got to be the king. Otherwise, you'd be the prince. Why did you choose the San Diego Community Bible Church to kind of start your life fresh with? Why them?
Well, actually, I was an associate pastor for 2 years in Chatsworth at the church at Rocky Peak, and my mentor was Dr. David Miller, and he was an amazing guy. And when the job opening, I graduated with my MDiv degree in November of '96, and then I was ready to go to be a senior pastor. And there was a ad in Christianity Today. San Diego has 130, 140 people. They were looking for a pastor. I thought, why not? I sent a tape because Dr. Miller used to let me preach occasionally at Rocky Peak. Rocky Peak had 2,000 people in Chatsworth when I was on staff there. And I sent them one of my sample tapes. They brought me in and ended up about a month or two into the process hiring me, and I was grateful. So in March of 1997, first week of March, I was preaching on the book of Genesis at Community Bible Church, and grateful.
And I know this was an important time, so I don't mean to make light of this, but you must understand that the public sees that and could say to you, you're choosing a profession that is professionally talking to people, that people are vulnerable that you're talking to. These are your constituents. You're choosing a profession, I think, that could be easily manipulable.
So that's a great point. So here's the answer to that. I run into people all the time, and I say, I don't care if you've committed murder. When you're a pastor and you violate a position of trust and you betray God, you've committed a sin far worse than murder or anything. There is no excuse. You're held to the highest standard. When you betray a flock, God, what you believe, and do what I did, that is the most reprehensible crime. There ain't an 18 USC code for it. They just use commingling funds or insider trading. But spiritually speaking, it's the worst thing you could do. So if I could get through that, get forgiveness, come out of that, get Lisa and the boys back.
Well, that's so, you talk about knowing that guy at the liquor store, you're cashing those kind of checks. That was your moment of you kind of breaking bad a little bit. And then, so what's that moment in the church where like everything's going well, you're out of prison, you're a reformed guy, God's gonna forgive you, granted your wife had left you at the time, but you're meeting other people, you're not a broken man. Why go back to that life? What is in that? Who are you paying? Why?
My son Dylan, when he came and visited me in Atwater Camp 2015, my twin boys, Dylan said to me, we sat down, he said, why did you do that? Dad, you had such a good...
Yeah, they show that in the doc.
Yeah, and I have no... Figures you picked the one question. No, I listen, any answer would sound like an excuse, and I wouldn't want to do that. I remember in 2001 in May, when Fraud Discovery Institute was starting, and we had an expense regarding a video thing we were doing, and couldn't come up with the money, and I'm like, I'll get the money. I never thought twice about it. I'll pay it back. Nobody's ever gonna know. It's for a good cause. We're uncovering fraud. So I lied to myself. It's not an excuse. And it was on the heels of 4 years of hell, lost wife, but met Lisa, church was behind me all the way, and I betrayed him with that decision. When rationalizing with that moral compass that, I know I got to do this to get this product out, but it's going to sell and we're going to make money and I'll pay it back, nobody's going to get hurt. Same rationale, went back to my old ways. Betrayed everybody in the process and have no excuse for that. I'm out of position of trust, so that temptation, 2001 May, is not there. So you remove that. So anyway, I wanted to encourage people who are like me, who lie to get money, betray positions of trust, struggle with addictions, in and out of prison. Those are my people. As for the rest of the people that are normal and don't struggle with these kind of things, I really have nothing in common with them. So I'm not trying to reach them as much because they're good people and they don't need me or my story.
Well, I think it's easy to do what you did. Like, I think that you chose the easier route. Like, I think that is why it's hard to kind of explain why you did it, because it's not really a hard decision. You wanted to take the easy road. My thing here for you is, I want to know what you say to those victims that you believe are victims of you. But if you think in your mind, Barry, that God has forgiven you, but your actual victims who are here aren't forgiving you, how do you know that God's forgiven you?
I respect their view, but they must understand that you can, we have a worldview that kind of says forgiveness should be preeminent. So that's kind of an important part of our faith. But if you choose not to forgive, you're doing it in the context of, I didn't get away with anything. I served a lot of time. Yeah. Most of the punishment for me occurred when I got out of prison, facing the family and the damage I had done while I was gone. Didn't get away with it. Suffered greatly for what I did, and deservingly so, and probably deserved more. But and I'd never disrespect somebody, and I don't get a lot of that, really. I don't get a lot of people who are saying, I don't know if it's because of the times we're in. I don't know if it's because there's a lot of crime that goes unprosecuted today. I don't know what Michael and I were joking. Where were these Philadelphia prosecutors when we were crooks?
Yeah.
You know, probation. I got hammered, period. And whether you consider the financial crisis or way back in the 80s with Milken, Boesky, and Leona Helmsley, I really got hammered. And that time kind of says, you know what? He did bet, but he paid.
He served.
I served, and not no joke serve, not no Camp Lollipop serve. You know, I serve. So that's part of it. The other part is you respect people. Listen, if you're coming back from failure, the bullseye on the target is not to appease the haters. It's you understand and you respect their view. No problem. Is that the way you feel? I'm very sorry for what you did. There was a publicist. I haven't seen her in 32 years in the documentary. Wonderful lady. She was dead on right. Barry never told me he was a crook. He ruined my career at that point because of his deception, and that's why I got 25 years. But
and then no one trusted her again.
But she was right. But you know, she was a brilliant lady, still is a brilliant lady. But she has the right. She has standing. She is a victim. She knew me. She was deceived. That's part of when you fail, when you go to prison, you have to respect your victims. The point is, though, that even though I did my time, I am making restitution and will continue to do so, but I also have a great empathy for those I hurt and never walk over their feelings, but I'm surprised at how many have forgiven me. And I'm going to tell you something, Daryn. Forgiveness doesn't change the world. Forgivers change the world. And I have been blessed with former church leaders, the founding pastor of Community Bible Church who hired me, who to this day is pastor emeritus, forgave me in Lexington when I was facing charges in San Diego, tried to come visit me multiple times as a pastoral visit. They wouldn't let him in. Stood by me, helped me write apology letters to all my victims again, and stood by me to this day. He's my friend. And his love and forgiveness I embrace. Forgivers change the world. Lisa's forgiveness, the boys' forgiveness. So for those who have failed, the bullseye on the target is not winning over the haters. Respect them. They're entitled to their opinion, and love them, and make sure if there's anything you haven't owned up or apologized for, do it. But if you're watching this and you're not a perpetrator, the goal is to stay off like American Greed and Dateline. You don't want to be on those shows, and follow my example and don't let this happen to you.
Well, I'm watching this documentary with you in it, the 3 parts, and I'm saying to myself, if it were me, and it's hard to put myself in your position because it's a personality, I'm saying to myself, okay, serve my time. I'm not Breaking Bad anymore. I'm doing a good thing. The guilt that I feel from having victims under my watch would make me feel terrible. I'm going to get out of the limelight and just do something
I'm so
good.
glad you brought that up.
But you decide, there's a Conman, the movie, that comes out, okay?
Oh, yeah.
I want to get into that a little bit.
Okay, I thought it was...
You decide to make a movie. Yeah, no, you thought you could get away with it. You decide to make a movie about your life, right? And then you decide to star in that movie about your life. And I understand sort of you're like, no one can play Barry Minkow like Barry Minkow. I get that. But that's not really honoring... I think there's a lot of people out there who would say, Barry...
Yeah, okay, so let's get the time.
You're putting yourself in this position again.
Let's get the time. So there is, number one, there were 2 people from the church that invested that were completely paid back. And in May of 2014, the government acknowledged that and lowered my restitution order. There was 1 victim, though, however, who funded most of that movie, who is the single biggest victim, in my opinion, because he believed in me, loved me, and
opened his wallet to you.
And was a part of the production, believed the story. So the story was, I was uncovering fraud. We were on 60 Minutes, and we had over $1 billion in multiple cases uncovered. I was pastoring what appeared to be a successful church, and we were going to do a movie. So for me, the justification, and I was, on OxyContin at the time, not making very good decisions. But as for playing myself, my rationale was, I just went undercover for the Derek Turner case in the Bahamas. They made a movie in New Zealand about this case, and I'm in it, but I'm not in it. I just interview in it. And he was a $100 million conman, and I had to go alone into his house and act, very dangerous, and the FBI was outside. And I thought, I'm not getting paid for this. I might as well act. If I'm this good of an actor and I got him busted, they're going to pay me, so I'm going to star in my own movie. Why not? So that was kind of the mentality. But might as well get paid. I'm doing it for the feds for free, because the whistleblower laws didn't come until after 2011. Now, if you're a whistleblower, there's a reward, but then there wasn't. So all these cases I uncovered that the SEC wrote the judge about in Miami, I never got a dime for. So I'm not saying that I should have or shouldn't have, but I'm saying that was my rationale. Right. They owe me, right? So I can use insider trading, the whole fraudulent thinking. So the movie was just my way of saying, Howard Stern did it. I'm doing it for the feds anyway, acting. I'm apparently a good actor. Might as well get paid for it. And it was, part of the movie, half the movie, the younger part was played by somebody else. But clearly ego, clearly not something that I'm proud of. Clearly was, here's the big thing. The entire movie was a fraud about uncovering fraud, because the guy who was in it was secretly addicted to OxyContin, commingling funds with the church, committing insider trading, having an affair, living a double life, and hopelessly addicted to OxyContin, and preaching on Sunday and doing a movie about a great comeback story. So a lot of
pressure on you.
Yeah, but no, there's no excuse for that. So that was 2009 when it was filmed, and then by the time it came out, the Lennar indictment, so when it was for its release, then they reshot the ending. So my point was, in fact, the last thing I did when I was turning myself into Lexington in September 2011 was stop at a notary and sign over all the rights, because I had been sued by the guy who put up the money. I settled before I went to prison, turned over all the rights so he could make as much money, and I notarized the document and then went to prison. So I wanted to try to do whatever I could to try to make some kind of restitution to him, because I felt so bad. But the point was, it was evil, wrong, and that was the kind of, let me go fast forward. So fast forward from the movie, and I did my time for the church crime. I'm out, some 8 years later, and out about a year and a half, and I'm managing a emergency shelter. It's the beginning of COVID, like February, March 2020, and I have 3 production companies coming to me at once to do a docuseries, to do this show. Now, I'm living in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. My boys, Lisa, we're starting our life over. I'm happy. I have a full-time job, and I'm part-time at the homeless shelter. And 3 different companies came to do this. So I wasn't looking for it, didn't have a PR company. And my wife and I talked about it a lot, about what's the value in it, what could be good to be taken away. And we came to the conclusion that there's a lot of marriages out there that, maybe there's forgiveness. Well, Lisa's example of forgiving me is wonderful encouragement to somebody that might help. And then, of course, my story, which we've already done. So the difference between the movie and this is this. They came to me. I didn't have a PR company. I wasn't funding anything, and I certainly didn't want to do it. And after much contemplation and saying no to a lot of people, and then 3 companies at once, we finally decided to do it so that good can come out of it. So that's the contrast between the two. Reluctantly participated in this, because I knew I was going to take your hits. You got to. Do
you regret doing it?
Listen, hey, you sorry.
He's so mad at me.
No, I do. Listen, if people derive benefit and look at this and say, dang, I feel better about myself. I'm not near that bad. I mean, okay, so it's a good self-esteem. If people can look at this as a cautionary tale and never follow my footsteps because they're like, man, I'm starting to lie to get money. I lied on that loan app, on my tax return or whatever. I need to stop that. The expense account is getting up a little high. I know I pay it back. I need to stop that. Then it's worth it. If somebody could look at Lisa's forgiveness of me and remarriage as hope for theirs, it's worth it. If somebody is struggling with addiction, cast off by society, called a con man wherever they go, or whatever they're called, a drug addict, and ready to throw in the towel, and then they say, you know what, this guy didn't quit, I ain't quitting either, then absolutely it's worth it.
Is there any part of you that might think, and I don't want to hammer this too much on you, but I think it's kind of important, is there any part of you that might think that people could watch your story and say, I could get away with this now?
No. Oh, heck no. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, anybody who's watching, there's an old saying, paths have predetermined destinations. You get on the 101 North, you're going to end up in Ventura or Santa Barbara. It's just where that thing ends up. It's not how you say, I didn't intend to go to Ventura. You set your feet on that path, 101 North, we're in LA, You go far enough, you're going to hit
You
Ventura.
cash that check at that liquor store, whatever.
You set your feet on the path of lying to get money. That thing has one ultimate destination, federal prison. It's the principle of the path. It has nothing to do with feelings, intent. Well, I can manipulate circumstances. I thought all that. Zillions of people thought they could get away with affairs. Oh, OxyContin. I could take OxyContin. It won't get the better of me. I know zillions of people before me have put their feet on the path of OxyContin abuse and died or became addicted, but not me. I can control outcomes. So I had to learn the hard way, the principle of the path. You set your feet on the path of Oxy, that thing's got one ultimate destination. Today, what I tell the House of Hope, it's death because of the fentanyl. You set your feet on the path of lying to get money and financial compromise, that thing's got one ultimate destination: prison, destruction. You set your feet on the path of unfaithfulness in your relationships, that betrayal has one ultimate destination: your kids will never trust you again. So it's the principle of the path. The Barry Minkow story confirms you set your feet on a path, it's only a matter of time. So I did 15 years, so you don't have to. Don't go near the path.
One last question before I let you go, and I'm curious if you've asked yourself this. You're about to hit the lever, you take the check, the liquor store, you're about to hit the lever. You know that your life's gonna change once that lever goes down. Is there anything that someone or some figure could have said to you to make you not do that lever? Were you born this way? Or if someone came up to you and said, hey, you could do this instead, or you don't have to do this. Is there anything that you could have changed your path?
It's a great question, and I would just say this. I think there's pretty conclusive evidence out there, scientifically, that cigarette smoking might just kill you, lung cancer, whatever. I think yet people still smoke. It's not an issue of evidence, it's allegiance. So it wasn't the evidence, because I knew about the stories. I was a pastor, remember, about the drug stories and the affair stories, and I knew all those where they ended up, and I still did it. So it isn't evidence, it's allegiance. And it's my heart that was wrong, and shooting for not being grateful, wanting more, never being satisfied, putting myself above others. That was my destruction. So I wish there was some magic word that somebody could say, or I could come back from the future and say, hey, Barry, this is what's going to end up. You know what I'd probably say? Yeah, that was you, Barry, but I can control outcomes. The principle of the path. We fool ourselves. And I wish there was some speech I would have heard that would have prevented me, but I don't know. But what does ring true is people who have done exactly what I've done ended up where I ended up. These stories of don't let this happen to you, I do believe resonate. Because when we're alone at night and we stop lying about the cure and we know who we are when nobody's looking and we know all the balls that we're juggling, like you said, and all the stress, we want out. We don't want to be where we're at. So I just don't want to let people ever get there.
Well, Barry, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for joining all of us. Thank you for answering those hard questions.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate your
My
time
pleasure.
and your
Thank you.
honesty. Unfortunately, we have to wrap this up. We only got to touch on part of your story, your incredible story. It's insane. So if you'd like to hear even more, you need to check out King of the Con. I highly, highly recommend it. It is streaming right now on Discovery Plus. Thank you to everyone for joining us. Barry, thank you again. I really appreciate it.